Hello and welcome back. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'd really appreciate it. Today we're going to paint the Nagarri for the Forces of the Abyss. And this is how he turned out after I finished painting him. It took about, I would say 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours to paint in total. And I will go from start to finish here on how I did it. I started by priming the miniature with all black, and then at a 45-degree angle and from above, I did a white spray paint, Zenithal highlight. And the first colors I used were the AK Inks Cyan and Blood Scarlet with our magic sauce, which I always say is our Deep Shades medium from AK as well. And I did a 5 drops blue, 5 drops red, and I did 2 drops of the shade for the mixture of the paint itself, the ink. I really think that this ink does a great job at accentuating the darks and the lights and makes the crevices of the snake skin look really, really awesome. It's kind of a very red purple is what I'm going for. And you'll see as I'm painting it where I put it on lightly and where I put it on heavily near the armor on the snake skin itself. Just go around the leg area and the scales itself on the bottom, all over with this ink. And you can be as liberal as you want, you can be as light as you want, but I pretty much put it on there at a medium consistency, and you'll see throughout the video the parts that are real bright and the parts that are dark, and the difference in how well it makes the skin look on snakeskin. Now our next color we're going to use is Vallejo's Game Color Text Lichen, which is a purple. I really like this. We are going to lightly paint over with very transparent. We're going to go 2/3 water, 1/3 paint of our purple on our scales down below, kind of differentiate between the actual skin and the scales underneath, give it a little bit of a purple tone, and you'll see why we do this later on in the video. Plus, we're going to go over the tail a little heavier with a couple coats, and we'll blend that together with that really reddish purple. And then we're going to base coat the skin tone on the Nagarri. Just get all of his skin. If you get the armor plates, it's no big deal. We're going to go over that with a metal color later. And once we've base coated the skin tone and the underneath of the snake skin, we're going to grab Squid Pink and we are going to base coat the tongue. The one that's sticking out. You can't miss it. And once that's base coated, we're going to get Chainmail, our really dark game color chainmail color for the some of the armor plates. We're going to use 2 different kinds of metals here, so pay attention to what we're painting here. There's some armor plates on the front, below that face on his belt. There's there's one on each side, either side of him, and one on the back. And I just painted those in this really dark chainmail color. And once that's finished, we're going to grab Army Painter's gunmetal. And this one is a lighter metal than the game color one. There is a difference if you really look at it. This is what I base coat normally. Most of my armor on the Forces of the Abyss, except I've really been more drawn to the game color gunmetal to differentiate between the two and make one darker than the other. It almost looks like a black armor when you use the Vallejo stuff. So, but we're going to carry on with this on the back and on the back of his skin, on the rest of his body, the armor plates in the back. We're going to hit every one of those. We're going to get all the chainmail. We're also going to be painting the axe that he is carrying. and all the chainmail on his front and his back in this color. Then we're going to take our game color silver, which is a much brighter metal, and we're just going to do a light dry brush, a very light dry brush. Get most of the paint off of your model itself and do a very, very light dry brush over all the plates that we just painted. We're going to take hammered copper. We're going to paint the face mask and the face on his belt, on his midsection there, in this color. And this is just a base coat, like I said, and you'll see what we're going to do with everything after it's all base coated. And after those things are taken care of, we're going to grab our bone white and we're going to base coat the horns on the top of his head. And after those are base coated, we're going to take our Agrexer shade. I was going to use a lighter color than this, like a sepia or something like that. To make it look a little bit different. You could also use a Nuln oil, but I'd recommend using an Agrex if you're going over everything, including the purple like we're going to do here. Now you're going to take this Agrexer shade and you're going to put it over all of the armor plates. You're going to put it all over his skin, and we're going to put it all over on the hammered copper, and we're going to cover the tongue on the squid pink we put on his tongue as well. This is everything but the snake skin on his lower body that touches the base. We're going to take our Agrexer shade and we're going to dilute it a little bit with some acrylic thinner. You could use Lamia Medium. You can use an acrylic paint thinner. We're just going to do a couple drops of that in it just to spread it out a little bit more. And we're just going to cake it on there on everything, all the armor, the axe, his face, his head, his tongue, his skin, everything except for that reddish purple snake skin on his body. And once we got that all finished and the Agrex is completely dry, we are going to go back to our magic sauce with our cyan and our blood scarlet. And we're going to do the same mixtures we did before. A couple drops of deep shade, 2 drops of cyan, and 2 drops of blood scarlet, because we're really not doing a ton with this. We're just going to blend that purple that we did on the back of his tail into the snake skin itself. We're doing this very lightly and kind of sporadically, just kind of making it blend together. Just gonna get the right colors, and it will be a lot darker than what you had on there before. So then we're gonna take our bone white again, and we're gonna do a dry brush on those horns. We're gonna start there. And once you have this bone white on those horns, don't forget the nails. You gotta paint the nails on his hands as well in the bone white, or you can use white. And once that is finished, we're going to take the hexed lichen again, and we're going to do our first base coat on the skin and the scales down at the bottom. The scales down at the bottom, you just do small lines, just sporadic lines, making lines on those scales at the bottom. And you'll see at the end, I do this with every highlight on his skin, and this will actually make that scale look like a scale, like it's some kind of a bony scale. And give it a little bit of texture, and I think it looks cool. And we're doing a 1/3, 2/3 process with this hexed lichen for our first base highlight on him. We're bringing the base coat back together. You'll paint over everything except for the deep crevices, and it's 1/3 water, 2/3 paint for this highlight. Our next highlight is we're going to add a little bit of this Warlord purple to our mixture that we already have of our hexed lichen. So this is going to lighten up that purple and give us our first highlight. Now we're going to start just hitting the things that touch the light. And of course, we're going to do 1/3 water and 2/3 paint. So you just want to add a couple drops of this and maybe 1 drop of water to that same mixture. And we're going to make a series of lines on the scales down below. And we're going to keep doing this as we add highlights to our skin at the same time. And this will add a little bit of definition to the scales, and will highlight anything that touches the light from above with this color. And then we're going to add a little bit more Warlord Purple to our mixture. And we're just going to do the same exact thing, except we're going to paint less and less of the crevices of the skin and the scales down below. And as we're highlighting this up, we're using the same mixture. We're just adding more Warlord Purple to the same hex lichen mixture that we had previously. And once that's done, we're going to add a little bit of squid pink to our mixture. And we're going to paint the scales down below, only the ones that hit the light. And remember, they go up the side, and whatever hits the light from above, try to stay away from the inside. Do these on the very top parts of those scales. We're also going to highlight our skin with just the very tops of his skin and the places that light hits on his skin tone. And if you don't know, you can actually put him under a lamp and you can see the spots on the miniature that would take this high highlight. And we're just going to add a little bit more squid pink to our same mixture. And every time you add 2 drops of paint, we want to add a drop of water. Now we're going to take our squid pink and we are going to highlight the tongue. We're going to keep it towards this highlight towards the top where the light hits it. And then after that, we're going to add a little bit of off-white to this mixture. And what this will do is highlight where the light hits the most on the tongue itself. And then we're going to take that same mixture and we're going to do our final highlight on the scales on the bottom. This really makes it pop with this pink and white, just where you would see it, where the sun would hit it, and our scales on the bottom are finished with that. And now we're going to take a little bit more off-white and we're going to dry brush the horns, the very top parts of the horns. Then we're going to take our glorious gold, and with our glorious gold, we are going to do another dry brush, but this time it's going to be on that face that we painted on his midsection and his face mask. Then we're going to do one more final highlight with it, the polished gold, and this we're just going to stick in the center and the high points on the actual hammered copper that we originally painted, and we're going to touch up the axe with a little bit. Get most of the paint off your brush when you're doing this. And lastly, we're going to take our silver, and our silver is going to be a highlight for all of our metal plates. And we're going to go over everything, get the majority of the paint off the brush. This has got to be a very subtle highlight, so light touches when you're doing this, and this just kind of brightens up those edges. And I do a little bit on his face mask as well, just a tiny bit. And a final thing we're going to do is the yellow. We're going to take AK's yellow and we're going to paint the eyes. Be very careful when you're doing this. Find a nice sturdy hold on the miniature and steady your brush in. Bring it in nice and slow. You can even turn it upside down and it would work as well. And there you have the finished miniature. It's a really easy miniature to paint. Hope you liked this video. I really appreciate you watching it and getting to this point. He turned out really well on the base once I finished it. And that's all I've got. Ta-ta! See you in my next video.